know if you heard, but on Friday night, the Bears signed the most successful wide receiver in franchise history before he even put on a uniform. What a turn of events for them to trade that number 1 pick. He is Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. I'm Dionne Miller from ABC7. We knew that this was a possibility. I was surprised how early it happened. You?
Yes, to some extent. The first hint that we had that this might be a possibility that they could go this early was at the combine when we stood with Ryan Poles in that hallway in the hotel in Indianapolis. And he said, look, like if you're going to make a trade early, it's going to be because you are acquiring a veteran player that then affects your plans in free agency. Well, certainly the acquisition of DJ Moore in this trade with the Carolina Panthers affects the Bears for free agency. It takes down some of their cap space, which is great. It checks a box, a really big box, which is get Justin Fields help. And now they've gotten him a proven standout wide receiver that will give him an opportunity to continue his ascent as an NFL quarterback. Look, like when this deal broke on Friday afternoon, there is no reason to have anything but excitement about what Ryan Poles was able to turn the number 1 pick into. He gets back number 9. He gets back number 61 in this month's or in next month's draft. He gets a first rounder for 2024 and then a second rounder in 2025 plus DJ Moore. And for me, DJ Moore is the exclamation point on everything. He is the story in this deal because all of those other things, Dionne, are just lottery tickets. They're raffle tickets for prizes that you ultimately want to get. But DJ Moore is a proven veteran standout receiver that gives Justin Fields somebody he can trust.
A veteran receiver who is the exact same age as him and is kind of on his timeline now. So they can move forward together. Well, he's a little bit older, but not a ton, right? Like they're relatively the same age. And so they can work together, develop together. I went back and looked at DJ Moore's seasons and what he was able to do. I mean, he had not the same year last year that he's had in the past, but being number 9, number 11 in the league with the hodgepodge of quarterbacks that he's had to work with, it's been pretty impressive. And now if he can have a consistent QB like Justin Fields will be for him, I feel like the sky can really be the limit. Now, I did hear someone on the radio station you appear on say that they felt like that DJ Moore was more of a 2 or a 1B, not necessarily a top wide receiver. And I guess like I disagree simply because the Bears need him to be the top receiver. Right. He already is. As soon as he walks into the building at Hallis Hall, he's the best receiver they've ever had.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey would like a word, right? Like certainly his statistical production in his time at Carolina is better than anything that anybody has done in a Bears uniform. But there have been playmakers like Brandon Marshall in terms of production in his time in Chicago is as good as it gets. And you would love to have somebody that can produce like Brandon Marshall. But I was going to read you the hodgepodge of quarterback names that you referenced that DJ Morris had to play with in Carolina as starters. Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, Will Greer, Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield. So there hasn't been a whole ton of stability there. And he's still been able to produce. He's still been able to show you that he's a tough, veteran, experienced receiver. And those were the words that kept coming up in conversations I had with people that are connected with the Panthers and understand some things about who this receiver is. It's the toughness and the experience quotient that now you can feel good about. And you can put Justin out there and say, look, hopefully by the time free agency ends, the offensive line looks better. Hopefully by the time the draft ends, the array of playmakers is better. And now all of a sudden it's on you to make sure, you take that next jump in your development and see this thing to the levels that everyone hopes it goes to.
Well, that's the next step, right? I do feel like I can't imagine Ryan Poles sitting by and not making a selection or a move to acquire more picks between 9 and 53. It would shock me. I honestly think you don't make this move this early if you don't have plans to make other moves before the draft. No?
In terms of what?
Well, I'm just thinking that that's a long gap to not be selecting when you need as much as the Bears do. I just feel like he will find a way to acquire more picks between 9 and 53. Don't you think so?
I don't know. I mean, it really depends on how the board shakes down, because in order to acquire more picks in that range, you're going to have to trade something that you have and move up and do those types of things. I think Ryan has been very, very consistent with his messaging and his vision for where he wants to go. And his goal has not been to buy headlines in the 2023 offseason. It's to build a team that can sustain success into 24, 25, 26, 27, and beyond. And so I think this approach of being disciplined, of understanding what patience looks like and methodically putting together this roster requires you to understand that you're not going to get it all done in one roster building cycle. So he doesn't have to get every box checked in free agency. He doesn't have to get every box checked in the draft. He has to find those core building block players that we talk about all the time that can be here for a while. And hopefully DJ Moore is one of those. Hopefully Justin Fields is one of those. And there's obviously a lot of holes to fill on this roster, and they're going to continue to do so.
I think the thing that impressed me the most was that what they got as far as draft picks. Again, these are all hopes and they're lottery tickets right now. You're hoping that it becomes something successful, but to not have anything less than a second round pick coming back to you, I think is pretty well done as well. For a guy who's making that kind of move for the first time as a GM, I thought that was a pretty solid flex. I mean, that really impressed me that he did that and that he made that move. And Adam Schefter has said, like, they had other teams who were interested, but let's not let the Panthers go out and try to get a Lamar Jackson or change directions with what they want to do quarterback wise when you've got somebody on the hook and with a package that you're comfortable with. Now the question starts though, Dan, like, who do they get at 9? Like, what direction do they go at 9?
Because you're dropping yourself down probably 5 position players on your board if you stay at 9, assuming that 4 quarterbacks are going to come off the board before you pick, and now you've got to figure out what that looks like. Well, some of those questions I don't think can be answered until we get to the end of the first and second and third wave of free agency, and we see what they do there to address needs. If they make some major acquisitions in free agency on the offensive line, all of a sudden you say, well, maybe we don't need Peter Skoronski or the left tackle from Ohio State, and we can focus on our defense, or vice versa. And so there's a lot that's going to be fluid before we get to late April and knowing which direction they want to go. I've had more questions, honestly, in the last few days about what the Carolina Panthers were doing, and why they felt so urgent to go up there, because it doesn't sound like at this point that they have fully locked in on one guy, which is fine, but certainly they feel comfortable with multiple guys. You don't make a pick or a trade with that much capital involved unless you feel really good about using it on a guy that's going to change your franchise. The Bears are the beneficiaries of that. You take advantage of desperation, and now you try to take what is largely viewed as one of the 3 worst rosters in the NFL and try to build it up with difference-making players. To that end, DJ Moore is a bird in the hand, and we're not left guessing about what it can become, because these other picks, right, like a 2025 second-round pick and a 2024 first-rounder could be Leonard Floyd and Ego Ferguson, right? And if that's who they are, then we'll look back in 7 years and go, well, that didn't work out so well.
Correct. I know you said they might not need Peter Skoronski, but I feel like I do. I just love the story. Like, I love him, and how much I love linemen. Like, I think that would be just an incredible story. But interesting note, over the weekend when we talked with Adam Schefter, he mentioned that the Bears will go to Jalen Carter's pro day, and that he would still be available at 9, and that would be an interesting decision for them to make. I don't know. I don't want to I'm trying to reserve judgment till we know all the facts and all that stuff, but it would just be, we know what he can do football wise. It would be interesting if they would go that route draft wise.
I get a lot of questions right now, and understandably so, about Jalen Carter. Will the Bears pick Jalen Carter? Are the Bears comfortable with Jalen Carter? I don't have the time or the resources to do the homework that is needed to get that answer, and so we're going to have to wait until the draft comes and goes and find out beyond that what teams found out. We're not even so sure that this legal mix-up that Jalen Carter is involved in with 2 charges of racing and reckless driving in connection with a car accident that was fatal and took the lives of 2 people that were in the Georgia football program isn't done evolving. There may be more that comes out there. There may be more that comes out not in connection with the legal case, but that other people in the NFL unearth. And so there's just no way to know the full book that teams are putting together on who this guy is as a character guy, and so that's going to be really compelling, because listen, like, if the Bears ended up drafting Jalen Carter on the first night of the draft at number 9 overall, the city of Chicago would erupt in celebration. And the next day you would have to kind of say, well, hold on a second here, folks. There's very serious things here that we've got to get to the bottom of and feel out. I know it's great to watch YouTube videos and the tape and go, man, this guy's going to wreck, the interior of offensive lines for 10 years, but we don't know, we don't know how much else is involved in this story. And so it's really difficult to wrap your arms around that. As a fan, it's really easy to dream. As a front office exec that's in charge of putting together a team that goes out and does the homework on a player like this, it's very stressful, and the Bears are going to have to navigate that before the draft arrives in late April.
And it's the first time this group is ever having to do such a thing, I guess. I mean, like, they do have the resources to do the research. Let's hope they make the time to do it before you would make a decision like that. Like, that you would you would really vet that out. I feel like Matt Eberflus is a guy who that character issue is way high on his
For sure.
qualities that he wants in a player in his locker room. And so I do feel like he'll ask the right questions to see if this is a player that they could bring in. The problem that the Bears have is they don't have a veteran voice defensively who could guide a young player who might need that. At least right now they don't. I mean, that might
Eddie
change, but
Jackson,
right
right?
now
Like
they don't.
Eddie Jackson would be your established in-house defensive voice. Jalen Johnson's on the path to becoming that. But you're right. Like they don't have, you knew what kind of clout Khalil Mack had in that locker room with guys around him. You knew how guys responded to Danny Trevathan and Akeem Hicks and some of those established veterans that were there. And you don't have that yet. You're right. You don't have a fully built infrastructure to do that. Now, if you wanted to take a risk on a guy like that, does that mean you go out in free agency and search for a guy that you could pair him with for the first 2 years of his career and say, hey, buddy system here, right? Like let's take care of one another. Let's figure out where this thing goes. That's not a homework assignment you want to heap on somebody without giving them some advanced warning that might be in their job description. But look, like I can't stress this enough, and this gets lost in social media because, as you know, nuanced conversation in the Twitter sphere is null and void a lot of times.
Yes.
There are a lot of reasons to be excited about the trade that the Bears made Friday and capitalizing on the number one pick that they got for losing 10 in a row in 14 games in 2022. I just hope that we are on a path to one day celebrating achievements that have to do with actual results on the football field, because I feel like, and I wrote this in the piece I wrote for the Sunday Chicago Tribune, that like we get in these moments here of we did it in this city, and the follow-up question is, did what exactly?
Did what?
Right?
Yes.
And I struggle with that, and certainly I understand that fans are naturally going to react after taking 3 or 4 hits from the helium tank and they're floating on air, right, and feeling really good about everything. It's just, look, like we don't know what the Bears are. We don't know who they're going to become. All we know at this point, and the thing most worth celebrating, is that DJ Moore is a legitimate receiver, starting caliber, go-to, trustworthy guy that Justin Fields can use to further his ascent in 2023. And now let's see the results.
I am so with you on that. I'm going to slow my roll to start in chiseling out the statue for Lovie Smith. I'm just going to slow my roll because that put them in a position to make a move like this, but we don't know. We haven't won anything yet. Like, show me on the field. You don't lose 14 games to be in the same position again next year, right? You don't want that, right? And what they gave themselves was an insurance plan for Justin Fields, but they also gave themselves a legitimate wide receiver to hopefully help everybody take that next step. I'm not giving the credit to Lovey just yet. I'm just not. Color me salty. I just am like, you guys, slow down. Nothing happened.
You can send a thank you card. You don't have to build the statue.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
And that's good.
Even an edible arrangement, whatever. Slow down.
I think the Texans may have had some edible arrangements, if you know what I mean, going into that final Sunday in Week 18, and it cost them dearly because obviously the Bears are cashing in on a lot of things that they would have had the opportunity to do. But my last thought on this is, you accumulate all of these picks and all these resources. What you're ultimately trying to do is turn them into difference-making blue chip guys who can fuel you. Ryan uses the phrase all the time, move the needle, right? You've got a gas tank that's on E and you're trying to get it to F, and you need players that gradually move that needle from E to F. And right now you're just guessing on who those future picks can be. And you don't know if Justin Fields is your long-term answer at quarterback. You don't know if Tevin Jenkins can stay healthy enough to be an answer on your offensive line. You don't know whether Velus Jones will get through the rookie slump he had and become a difference maker. You don't know if they're ever going to find a player of the quality that Roquan Smith was. You don't know if they're going to get a pass rusher. So there's a lot of we don't know, and they haven't known for a while. And so now we'll just wait and see. But that said, you can go ahead and pump a fist and chest bump your buddy if you want about the trade that was made on Friday, because DJ Moore's arrival, along with all that other draft capital, certainly is a good return on what you had to work with.
Yeah, we don't know if it will fill the tank, but at least we won't run out of gas, right?
That's the hope, right? Like, let's get that gas light off, because the gas light was on for an awful long time in 2022, and that's an uncomfortable feeling.
It is. I sweat when the gas light is on. Do you? Do you?
I've gotten better with it. My wife is one who likes to drive it into, like, we're going to get it to the last possible drop of gas before we stop. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, there's a gas station right there. Let's just fill it up there. I know you're going to save, 11 cents a gallon at Costco, and we, for $1.40, we could just stop here and everyone could feel better. But that's where we're at.
Oh my gosh, I knew she was my girl. I am the same way. Oh my goodness. I like ride that for sure. But let's not let the Bears do that. Let's just not let the Bears do that.
No, let's move the needle. Let's fill the tank. Let's see what else they do.
And that's what we just did. He's Dan. I'm Dionne. We'll see you next time.